Hi Ling 101. In this video, we're going to look at how to draw a syntax tree to show the grammatical structure of a sentence. And so the sentence that I have chosen for this example is a sentence that I love, which is taken from The Sandman, Volume 5 by Neil Gaiman. And the sentence is, "Everybody has a secret world inside of them." All right, so let's take a closer look at this sentence and work on analyzing the grammatical structures. All right, so one essential part of drawing a syntax tree is going to be showing the lexical category of each individual word in the sentence. And so let's go ahead and take a look at each word of this sentence and identify the lexical category of each word. Remember, lexical category is another word for part of speech, so that means identifying each word as a noun, a verb, an adjective, and so on. And some words, especially in English, a lot of words can be different parts of speech depending on how they are used. So it's going to be really important to think about how the word is used in this particular sentence because some words can either be a noun or an adjective depending on how they're used, or it can either be a noun or a verb or something else. Okay, so let's start with everybody. The first word is a pronoun. And we abbreviate that as PRO. Has is a verb, and we abbreviate that as just the letter V. A is a determiner, and that's a category of words that includes articles like the and It also includes pronouns like that or these. A few different kinds of words can be determiners, so we categorize as a determiner, and that is abbreviated as DET. Secret could be either a noun or an adjective, and so again we have to look at how it's used in this sentence. And here it is used as an adjective because it is describing the noun world. So this is an adjective, we abbreviate that as ADJ. The next word is world, and that is a noun, which we abbreviate as N. Inside of, in this sentence, those two words are really functioning as a single preposition. So even though they are technically two words, we can treat these as a single word. So this is a preposition, which we abbreviate as the letter P. And then finally, them is another pronoun, which we abbreviate as PRO. And so we're going to need to include all of these abbreviations in the syntax tree. All right, so let's go ahead and start looking at how to draw the tree. And so I'm going to show this step by step, working from the top down. So starting from the top of the tree and then working our way down into smaller and smaller constituents until we get to the individual words at the bottom. You don't necessarily have to work in this order. You could go the opposite direction, going bottom up. You could go in both directions, so just whatever is easiest for you. I personally feel like it can be easier to start from the top of the tree, start with the largest constituents, and then narrow them down from there. So at the very top of every tree, you're going to have just a capital letter S, and that stands for sentence. And then everything in the tree, every word at the bottom of the tree is going to ultimately connect back to that S. And the triangle here is just a way to show that there's a section of the sentence, or in this case, the whole sentence, that we haven't shown the interior structure of that yet. So I'm just going to use that as we work through drawing the tree, just to show that this is a part that we haven't done yet. So we still need to work on this. All right, so we start with a letter S at the top. And so now let's think about the largest constituents that we can divide this sentence into. So we've got everybody has a secret world inside of them. Which parts of this sentence are functioning as a grammatical unit? And so we can divide this sentence into two constituents. And so we're going to have an NP and a VP. That means a noun phrase and a verb phrase. And most sentences in English are going to follow this pattern. Not always, but a lot of the time it's going to be an NP, which is the subject of the sentence, and then a VP, which is the verb and everything else that goes along with the verb. All right, so the NP, the noun phrase, is everybody, and that is just a single word functioning as a noun phrase, and that happens a lot. You can have a noun phrase that has just a single noun, or if you have a pronoun, then normally that is going to be an entire noun phrase by itself, as is the case with everybody. And then the VP is everything after the word everybody. So has a secret world inside of them. We've got the verb has, and then everything else goes together with that verb. So we've got a direct object, we've got a prepositional phrase, we'll get into that. And in English, the verb phrase is going to include the direct object of the verb, if there is one. It's going to include any adverbs or prepositional phrases that go together with the verb. And at this point, it might be helpful to think about some of the constituency tests that you can do to figure out, okay, is this sequence of words a constituent of the sentence? In other words, is this a grammatical unit? And there are a few different tests that you can do. One of them is, can this set of words be an answer to a question? That could work with the word everybody. You could ask the question, who has a secret world inside of them? And the answer is everybody, which is a constituent of the sentence. You can also test, can this sequence of words be replaced with a single word? And that's true with the verb phrase has a secret world inside of them. You could replace all of that with the word does and get the sentence everybody does. So imagine, for example, asking the question, what does everybody do? The answer, or I'm sorry, who has a secret world inside of them? The answer could be everybody does. And there are other tests that you can do to test if this is a grammatical constituent. But you can also just remember that in English, the direct object of a verb is going to be part of the VP. So are any prepositional phrases or adverbs or anything else that describes the verb. That's all part of the VP. Okay, so now let's see if we can break this down further, and we can probably find more constituents or phrases inside of that VP. And so if we look at the words, has a secret world inside of them, which of those words seem to be going together with each other? And so we can break it down like this. So we can find inside of that VP, we can find an NP, another noun phrase, which is a secret world. And so we've got the noun world, and then the words secret go together with that noun. So a determiner and an adjective, those three words are a noun phrase. We also have a PP, or a prepositional phrase, which is inside of them. And then also within that prepositional phrase, we have another NP, which is just the word them. So this is another case where we have just one word that is an NP by itself. That is normally the case with pronouns. We could replace this with a longer noun phrase that has multiple words, like inside of their mind. But in this sentence, we have just the pronoun them. All right, so now at this point, we have found all of the grammatical constituents in this sentence. So there are no more phrases that we can find. And so the last thing that we need to include in the syntax tree is, as we talked about earlier, the lexical categories of each individual word. And so those need to be included in the tree. Those are going to be just above each of the individual words in the tree. And so before, for example, above the word everybody, we have PRO. Above the word has, we have V, and so on. And so now we have a complete syntax tree showing all of the lexical categories and grammatical constituents of the sentence, everybody has a secret world inside of them.